Welcome back to Arcadian Insight. Today is Tuesday, August 13th, 2019, and it's episode number 28. Joining me today, I have Adam Wolf, Dave Mead, Josh McNeil, and Morgan from SwordChomp. Morgan, thanks so much for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Hey, why don't you just let us and just the viewers and the listeners know just a little bit about you guys and what you like, the content that you guys put out over at SwordChomp.
Yeah, I mean, you can find us pretty much anywhere at SwordChomp, and the tagline I use on our Instagram page is the phallic and the philosophical. Basically, dick jokes and analyzing
Perfect.
video games.
Perfect.
So it's a little. I like that we can be a little edgier than a lot of, I think, maybe bigger corporate publications have to be because, you know, for obvious reasons. And but you still get that genuine, good analysis and a lot of humor from good friends. So yeah, that's kind of our thing.
Yeah, you guys have been going for a while. You're on like episode like 150 something, I think, whenever I checked.
153, never missed a week, which has been pretty insane. Yeah, even when I broke my leg, which right now I'm doing this podcast in a room. This is my walker. If you guys can see that,
oh, geez.
I'm actually standing. I'm actually standing with my walker. So
that's dedication. Thank you so much.
I can't. Yeah, I'm hobbling in here for you guys. All right, that's dedication. So, no, but it's hard for me to get up to my normal podcast studio right now because of my legs. So, but yeah. So my point I was getting to is just even that show. I came back from the hospital that day, and I was like, I'm fucking podcasting. You know,
I'm doing a podcast.
But yeah,
well,
so I
I
just love talking about games. So.
Yeah, and we really appreciate it. I know that you and I have been talking about getting together for a few weeks and doing this, so I'm glad that we finally got the time to sit down and chat.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Trending news today. So we're going to talk about Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft are now going to require that all games sold on their platforms now have to disclose the odds of getting items of a certain rarity level in loot boxes, which is kind of a change that's something that we've talked about in the past, and it seems like companies are now switching over to this new format. And then we're going to jump into Walmart taking down all traces of aggressive and violent demos and displays of all forms of entertainment, including video games, even though they still sell guns. And this was like a big thing that I saw both in gaming media and on Twitter. So I thought we could definitely touch on that after the recent mass shootings that just happened. But the main topic today, we're going to talk about a topic that I'm really excited about and hope that you guys are too, but it's going to be centered around whether or not our gaming preferences have changed over time since whenever we were younger, or even just a few years ago. I think you can really correlate this back to any part of your life. But I think a good place to start here is that we dive into a ton of detailed topics every week, and I feel like we never really get a chance just to sit down and talk about what games we've been playing and how we're enjoying ourselves in our gaming careers at this point in time. So I'd really like to start just by talking about the games in 2019 that we're playing and that we really still love to play.
Teamfight Tactics. Oh, sorry. That's got to be, I mean, one of the best games I've played in quite a while. I don't think I picked up League of Legends in probably 2 years straight now, but that auto chess, I think that's incredibly addicting. I played like 4 games today, I think, and just back to back to back. It's like a real burner of a game. You could kill some hours on that one, I think. Has anybody else been playing it?
Oh yeah, big time, man. Well, I think I just started playing it like last week, and I'm the same as you. I haven't played League of Legends in years. For good reason. I just don't have the time. I don't have the time to play like a ranked League of Legends game because I just get smoked by every young kid that still plays the game like every single day. But yeah, I love TFT. It's really addicting. It's a game that you can play a game for about a half an hour, and as soon as it's over, you're instantly clicking like play next game. And I haven't had a game like that where I'm like addicted to playing it over and over like that in a long time. It really piques my interest.
Yeah, I think they did a good job there with, I think, you know, historically League of Legends had been kind of like a longer sit-down match kind of game. I remember games taking like 50 minutes to an hour at a time. And that's quite a commitment, you know, out of your evening. I think that's probably, you know, one of the biggest things as we all get older here, like time constraints on our gaming schedule, you know, what we can actually fit in. But something like easier to digest, I guess I should say, is something I've been leaning towards, and I think Teamfight Tactics kind of fills that role for me right now. Just something quick, easy, and a whole hell of a lot of fun.
That's all PC, right?
All
you guys
PC,
are playing that on PC.
all PC.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a weird division with that as someone who's not a PC gamer, just on the outside, because I've listened to a lot of podcasts talking about auto chess and reading a lot about it because it's so huge right now on Twitch, and but I feel like I'm a little bit on the outside, so it's interesting to see because I don't predominantly game on PC. I feel like it's definitely that crowd, so I feel I feel a little bit left out, almost like when I was younger and I'd see Dota blowing up, so. Like, what is the appeal? What makes it so addicting? Like, to someone who's not super familiar with it.
I think it's kind of hard to pinpoint, and I think just because I've only been playing it like a week, so I'm kind of a newbie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's the fact that you can go in and you get to basically buy certain heroes every round with the gold that you have. But it's a random selection. You don't always get the same pool.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always this revolving character pool every single round that you're getting to choose from, and it's very addictive because you always are trying to build this team that you think is like perfect, and I mean you never quite get there, right? You're never getting the exact champs that you want when you want them, but there's always that feeling like if I just play one more game today, I may just get a little bit better, or I may just get that like juiced up champ that I've been waiting for. I think it's that feeling of constantly striving towards that perfect team.
So the creativity sort of comes from taking what they give you and trying to do what you can with it.
Yeah, like managing your resources so that you have to pay. You can pay gold to get a reroll of heroes, or you can pay gold to level up.
Okay.
So it's like managing the gold that you have to build the best team, and as you level up, you get to put more champions on the field. So if you level up fast enough, you can be in like a 5v3 situation if you're good enough with your gold resources. So it's more like just managing that and trying to stay ahead of the competition. Okay,
interesting. And just last quick question, what is the actual name Auto Chess? What is that in reference to?
That's a good question. It's got to be from some other game had to have done this format first, I'd imagine, and I think they're just kind of pulling from that. And it does kind of give you that strategic depth that you would think a game like chess would kind of be offering, but I think Matt kind of summed it up well there. I think that random element, like that little micromanagey aspect to it. I'm not sure if that's what they're referring to necessarily when they say chess. There's a lot of different interaction there.
What console are you playing on a lot, Morgan? Like, what's your console of choice, or do you have multiple?
I just took my PSVR for No Man's Sky, but I got my Switch out most of the time with my leg broke, and also just fucking kids right now. So the Switch is the big one for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love the Switch. I actually just got Fire Emblem. It's in the mail from Amazon Prime, coming today. I just ordered it like 3 hours ago. Yeah, I don't know if you've played that at all, but I've heard it's like the best.
Yeah, I've dropped about 50 hours into it. It's been kind of pathetic, actually. It's just because I think it's just because I broke my leg that like I can't do anything. So I was hoping that something good would come out, and I don't know if you guys are a big fan of the tactics sort of genre, but did any of you guys play Into the Breach last year?
I'm not familiar with that one.
No.
Well, so I feel like I'm always preaching the Into the Breach thing, and I can't preach that game enough. It won like best strategy game at the Game Awards and a bunch of other places. I think it was like the PC Gamer Game of the Year, but yet a lot of people missed out on it, and has a really cool retro style, but it revolutionized sort of that turn-based tactical grid style gameplay. And like, I don't normally get into those games. Like, I tried Final Fantasy Tactics. I tried some of the older Fire Emblem games, but this game blew my mind. I put like 100 hours into it. We all did. It ended up being our game of the year. So,
you know what, Morgan, and sorry to interrupt you, but I do know what that game is. I've seen people play it, on Twitch and just like some YouTube playthroughs, and it did look like it was really interactive, and I think really unique in the way that like it's set up. Cause you have like, I don't know if they're aliens. I'm sure you can tell us, but it seems like they would like pop up in certain areas, and
yes, yeah, it's sort of like a love letter to almost like old school Japanese anime, because you're all in like mechs and there's a bunch of kaiju, jumping out of the ground attacking you. But it's the way it works is they come out at you from a bunch of different directions, and the strategy is sort of deciding how to attack each turn when you feel swarmed at times. And it's super, super addictive. And you don't run into those weird situations like in Fire Emblem where you have an 80% chance to slap someone with a sword and you miss because that 20 percentile shit came into effect and you're pissed off and you die and you have to you know what I mean? Like it's the opposite of that. If you're going to attack somebody, you'll do that sort of damage. I won't break down all the technicalities of it, but like if there's anybody out there who hasn't played into the Breach, it's like $10-15. I can't recommend it enough.
Is that the one that's also you kind of like manipulate the terrain a little bit too, like kind of like knocking them into each other and like different things on
yes.
the map? Okay.
You can knock them into water to drown them. You can knock them on top of another spot where one's going to like come out. So when the one like emerges from the ground, he like smacks his friend and they both die, kind of a thing. But it's the name of the game, Into the Breach, refers to the fact that you go back in time. So it's a roguelike. So if you die, you go back to the beginning of this timeline, and you can keep your pilot if your pilot didn't die. So like if you fail but your pilot's still alive, he goes back with you and he keeps all of his upgrades and stuff. So there's that feeling of progression. It's really cool.
That sounds awesome.
Josh, I'm surprised you even picked that up just with like the mech theme. It seems like that'd be right up your alley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I played.
It's so good. Yeah,
that BattleTech that came out last year. Is that what it's called? It was another like kind of mech assault, if you remember that, for old school Xbox theme,
Mech
but it
Warrior,
had yeah, exactly. And I had, and, you know, it just kind of didn't really get to me. But when you were talking about it, the only thing I could sit here and think of is XCOM.
Yeah, it's in relation to that. Just a lot of smart, like, I've tried all those games, and this one did some really revolutionary things to make it interesting and dynamic. Every battle feels different. Like you were saying with the auto chess, right? You're taking the random elements you have to use that strategically, and it keeps you on the edge of your toes. And this is kind of the same thing. Everything's randomized in the game. Everything. So every time you jump into a battle, from the goals to where things are coming out of the ground or attacking, it's all different.
So you've played through it multiple times?
Oh, Into the Breach? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Seen amounts of times, yeah.
Okay.
My Switch timer says 100 hours, and that's probably on the low end of things. I got it in my head that I had to beat it on expert, and then I couldn't stop until I did it. It was like one of those, those times you make these stupid goals for yourself that don't mean anything. Like, it didn't mean anything. It was such a dumb thing, but I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. It just took a long time.
Yeah, I did one of those like Dark Souls level 1 runs. Like a long time ago, back whenever we were like seniors in college, or even like just when we were like 2014, 2013. And that
Did you do it? Did you pull it off?
I didn't beat the entire game. I got past Ornstein and Smo. And once I did that, I was kind of like, you know what? Like, I think that this is good enough for me.
Yeah.
Like that felt that I had gotten far enough with the level 1.
Yeah. She almost came, so you did your best. It was close.
That's usually my goalpost.
Yeah. You were really close. The little slap. I feel you.
One of the games for me, and I tweet about this all the time, but a game that I just beat and actually just bought a little bit randomly like a month ago is Outer Wilds. And I don't know if it's just PC. It might be on console too. But I've absolutely loved it. It's my game of the year right now. It's like space exploration, but it's set on this time loop, a 22-minute time loop, where you have to go like planet to planet and discover new clues about like what's going on in the universe. But even if you're doing that really well, eventually like the sun's going to explode in 22 minutes anyway, and you're going to die and reset. But you do keep whatever you find. You keep those clues and that knowledge as you move forward. So
it's Majora's Mask, basically.
A little, yeah, but like a very tighter version in space.
Yeah. No, I played a couple. Yeah, we played that on the show quite a bit. So it's on Game Pass for people that have Xbox Game Pass. Okay,
but yeah, I fell in love with it. It's just been great.
It's one of those like recurring themes here. I'm feeling that I don't know. I think I said it earlier, like that easily digestible kind of game that you can sit down and you said 22 minutes. That Into the Breach, I haven't personally played it, but it looked like you could probably get through a few missions like relatively quickly. Same with the auto chess, like the teamfight tactics, like stuff for right now. It seems way more popular. Anything that's like quick, fast, fun, to the point.
Yeah, so that actually leads me to just like a really big question, and one that I definitely had in mind prior to coming into the show. But I think the question that I have is, have our gaming preferences changed, or do we just have less time to focus on longer games nowadays? Or is it like a mixture and blend of those two things?
Definitely.
Because I find myself going back to those like shorter games as well.
Were we still talking about what we've been playing recently, or are we just moving right along?
Well, I mean both. It's
okay.
But I just see that like as a recurring theme in what I play right now, like the Outer Wilds or the Teamfight Tactics. Like playing Teamfight Tactics versus playing a bunch of games of League, which take like 50 minutes, maybe more. Well, I just don't have the focus to sit down and sit through that nowadays.
You and I just hopped on a whim and played that one game the other day. I mean, I didn't have a great time, but it didn't inspire me to return to that game and play it like I did.
Oh, you mean when we played League the other day? Yeah.
Yeah. I know you guys keep telling me that I should try it, and I probably eventually will, being that you can take it in these bite-sized pieces, and I think that as you get older, and Morgan might be able to attest to this, having kids now, is like you just can't sit down and play a game for 4 hours on end anymore, and just bang out it. I was sitting here, we talked about Mass Effect quite a bit. I actually re-downloaded it, and then I was sitting there laying in bed like, I could get up and play some Mass Effect, but then I'm like, I'm going to jump into Mass Effect, and it's going to be like 20 plus hours before I even get into it again. Like I really want to play it, but I just feel like, would I be wasting my own time? Would I get in there and play for 10 minutes and be like, oh, well, that kind of fills the, that's it for me. I'm done,
That's funny you said that. That literally the exact same thing happened to me with that Metal Gear Solid 5. I bought that on the Steam sale again to like give it another chance, and I know what I'm like getting myself in for. It's like a long ass game, and I dropped like an hour or two on it, and just thinking about like the grind of it to play through that thing again, like I can't bring myself to do it. Like that, it's not, I don't know, not engaging enough to me right now. Maybe that's another issue. Like these older, I guess that game is getting a little aged now.
Shame on me, but I think this is exactly what's keeping me from playing The Witcher Wild Hunt, is because I have all of it, Blood and Wine, everything that I need to do it, and I know it's obviously worth it. But from what I understand, that people have dumped 100 plus hours into this game, like super easy, and it's just like, oh man, But I can jump in and play, like the game that I've been playing most recently, if I'm playing anything at all, really is I jumped into Monster Hunter a little bit there, and you could get a hunt done in 20 minutes or so and be done. But Hunt Showdown, it's competitive. I can get in at most. The games are like an hour long, but that's just what they're allotting to you, is that hour long time. And you can be in and out. You can choose to leave the instance at any point if you want. If you just want to go in and grind some PvE, or go in for the PvP, because it has both. Mm-hmm. I can choose how much time I want to play that. But it seems to me that more often than not, I need just bite-sized amounts of games. Just lack of time.
I feel like the trick with this, because I've thought about that a lot too, and I think the trick is nostalgia with older games is trickier, because you're going back to something you already played and sunk a lot of time into it, and you kind of know what you're getting into, and also the newness is gone. But like, I noticed that sometimes, like for example, I got really into Red Dead last year, and it was weird because I was the only person on my podcast that like really got into it for whatever reason, but I had to really fight to make time for that game. But I wanted to, because I was so into it at the time. But like, if I thought about playing Red Dead now, I was like, man, that was a really fun game, but fuck it. The newness and the new addictive nature of it, like wanting to see what's around the corner, is kind of gone because I've seen it. So like fighting for that time in my life just seems like overwhelming. It seems like too much work. Yep. And that's kind of where I fall on that stuff. Same with The Witcher. Like I really loved it, but the thought of going back to it, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, and I think just on top of that, what happens to me is like with a game like The Witcher is that I'll get so far and I'll put like 10 or 15 hours into it because it's fresh and really exciting to me. But like I won't be able to play it for a week and a half or something or 2 weeks. Like something will come up or I'll play a different game. And then I try to jump back into it and I don't even know like what the fuck is going on in the storyline. I don't know what items I have. Like I don't know where I've been. And when that happens once or twice, I'm pretty much done.
Yeah.
Because I just can't remember what's going on. And I don't want to like put the time and focus into getting back into it.
I think if you liked it enough, you would. This is going to sound like kind of a dick thing to say, but I think if you liked it enough, you would probably not go a couple weeks without playing it. And,
I think you're right.
And I only say that as a dad with like two jobs, technically 3 if you count SwordChomp, and then 2 kids and another one on the way, and a wife that needs a lot of attention. That if I love a game enough, I will find a fucking way to play it. and if I kind of like it or I like it, it kind of gets in that weird gray area. You know what I mean?
I think you're right because I really loved Outer Wilds and I probably put about 25 to 30 hours into that game over the course of like 2 to 3 weeks.
You know what they say, life finds a way. So
yeah, they do say
I like this guy. Ian Malcolm.
I don't know. I think we all have the same problem, job, girlfriend, wife, kids. So like you know what I mean? Your time is at a premium anymore. Mm-hmm. And I know for me, like, I don't even know why I'm on the podcast because I play the same fucking games. You know what I mean? I play no new games. Like I'm a Blizzard fucking fanboy, and that's all I play.
Mm-hmm. So, how does that work for you? Don't you mean WoW pretty much right now, right? Like the most time-consuming game in the world.
Yeah, that's why I only play one game because I don't have. After I work and do all the other shit, I can play that game, and like I'll play Hearthstone on my phone and shit. But
of all the genres, an MMO is definitely the biggest time sink in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Like I picked up FF14 and was super motivated, and I am enjoying the game, but it just like between work, it was like, okay, so if I'm gonna get on today, I need to do at least 4 or 5 dailies to even keep up with my friends who are still playing, so I can keep my level going. And then if I want to progress the story at all, I'm going to have to put at least another hour into the story, just playing through garbage fetch quests for the most part. And it just loses me,
When you guys were talking about getting into Classic WoW and you were asking me if I was going to try to play that game, I was thinking in my head, like, are you guys like nuts? Like, how am I ever going to play an MMO ever again? Like, it'll never occur. I have no time for that.
The difference between a lot of people like Adam and Dave for Classic WoW, I never played it. So Classic WoW will be like all new for me. It'll be all new. But if I can't sit down and play FF14, which is pretty modernized and got the new guy curve on there, and there's a little less grind. I don't see how I'm going to do it with WoW, and for a subscription fee to add on top of that, I don't know.
Well, WoW WoW when it first came out was such. I don't know if you guys remember that, and maybe I'm just really old, but like WoW when it came out was magic. Like it just felt like it was such an upgrade to the genre, and then the genre hasn't really gotten better. It's been fine. Like FF14 is really cool, and there's been a lot of stuff. Like a lot of people got in that Star Wars MMO, but like that was such a game changer. It's hard to explain to people like at the time how magical that was, but it'd be hard for me to go back to WoW now because it's running on fumes at this point, and it's basically like I have a friend who still plays it. He's our host. He still plays one of my co-hosts. He plays it from time to time, and he mostly plays it for the community. He's got just a lot of good friends in there. That's like he was like a guild leader or whatever they're called, and it's more than a game at that point. It's like a social hub, And
yeah, exactly. I agree with that. Like and for me too, it's like almost like you've put so much time into it that you just don't want to quit. You know what I mean? Like you feel like I've literally played it since it came out, and like I just can't permanently walk away. Like I'll take a break, or else you know what I mean, or you'll go away for a couple months, but like I always come back. Partially because I feel like I can't even tell you how much time I put into it because I'd probably fucking puke on the camera right now. And then all the friends I made, and like you still talk to everybody, and that's like the one game that everybody will still play together.
Yeah.
And then Go ahead. You're good.
Not good, Dave.
But in regards to Classic WoW, I feel like if you never played Classic WoW and you're gonna try to play it now, you're gonna fucking hate it. You're gonna hate it. There's no way you're gonna like it if you never played it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like
it's not designed for new people, I don't think.
It's not and like how video games have advanced from 15 years ago when Classic WoW came out to now, you're just not gonna have the patience to play that game.
Dude,
no one's gonna have the patience.
I camped out for 15 real life hours waiting for some fucking lion to respawn. It was a lion named Humar the Pride Lord. It was a black lion, and I thought it'd be a cool pet to have and fight with. And you had to wait under this one fucking tree for it to respawn. Mm-hmm. And if somebody got there, you had to wait again. It was on like a real cycle on the server. So I literally just sat around my computer for 15 hours waiting for that. Wow. What the fuck? Like Jesus.
Yeah, and like people like everybody now, like you need like that instant engagement and like excitement or entertainment or whatever. And like Classic WoW, I don't know if you there will be people that have played it in the past that will love it playing it again, but I don't think that many new people will like it. That's just my opinion. I might be totally wrong, but
it might go full circle because I'm sorry, go ahead.
Or they're gonna try it, like new people are gonna try it and they're gonna fucking hate it. They're going to quit because you're going to stand there and wait for boars to spawn for fucking 10 hours to finish a quest, and like your people are going to get triggered and quit.
When all my friends were grinding WoW, I was just smashing out that Halo 2, baby. You couldn't pull me away from Halo 2.
You and me both, but on Halo 3.
I was busy yelling at my TV and putting down little kids.
I didn't have a PC though. So I had an Xbox 360, so that's what I played. Yeah.
Hey, I was right there with you. Me too. Like I was doing both. I was smashing WoW at night and Halo 2. That's how I mean, you have to be a special kind of nerd to want to host a podcast every week. I'll just put that out there. So I'm a special kind of nerd. But yeah, Halo 2. That was a great time. That was when it was like the dream. Remember when Halo 1 came out? The dream was to be able to not have to drag everything to someone's house to do a LAN party. Yeah. And then we were just like, hey, guess what? Now you can just sit in your room and play random people. I was like, oh my God, this is heaven.
It was like revolutionary, man. It was the best. That's my favorite gaming time memory, I think, is like getting home from school every day and playing Halo 3 for 4 to 5 hours. Like literally day in, day out.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It sucks that Halo is like I don't even think about Halo as like a game I care about anymore. And I waited in line for Halo 2. You know what I mean? It's so weird now. So maybe Infinite can turn that around. But
they have the Master Chief Collection coming to PC pretty soon. Mm-hmm. So I think that at least I'm pretty hyped for it. Because I'm hoping that it rekindles the interest like in the community because it's never been on the PC. I'm hoping that people play it again. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I'll be on it. See me there.
Oh yeah, I gotta play that one.
Sure.
It's funny you said that, Morgan. That like Halo is one of those games that kind of like went away a little bit because I feel like everything else hasn't. Like they're remastering like every old fucking game that we used to play, like when we were kids. Like they're all coming back. What the big one was like the Resident Evil 2 remake, and then the I just saw on Twitter today Final Fantasy VIII remaster that they're finally doing, which it looks amazing. I mean that's great, but like what about like one of the I'm surprised it took that long for a game like Halo to get onto PC for one, and then this I don't know
Link's
remastering everything. Yeah,
I think it might have issues to do with like Bungie, because when Bungie left, they made Destiny, and Destiny became a phenomenon. So it might have something to do with that side of things. I don't know the technicalities of it, but
it's one of those ones I want to see come back. I'm like super pumped up for that.
Yeah. Life is better when Master Chief is relevant.
I completely agree.
Definitely.
Here.
Although the Arbiter, I like the Arbiter. I thought the Arbiter was pretty badass too. But
now you're speaking Matt's language.
I do like the Arbiter a lot. I really do, man.
I don't know why I liked him, but there was just something about playing as one of the bad guys at the time that was so. I was like, I've killed 1 million of these things, but now I got to treat one like it's a human. The fuck? Oh God, they have personalities. What have I done?
I don't know if you felt the same way, but I always kind of had some kind of respect for the elites.
Yeah. Oh, they were badass.
They had
are those the ones with? Were those the ones with like the little orange thing on the back that you had to shoot with the big shields, or am I thinking of
that was the hunters? The
elites
were the Arbiter. But I always thought they
yes.
had like a more like they had like an honorable code that they kind of fought with, or like a warrior's code. I always thought that they were a really cool race.
The samurai of the Covenant.
I don't know where you guys are getting this from, but I did not get that feeling at all. Like they were all equal killing fodder for me. But I was a big Halo 1 guy.
Oh, no way.
Maybe you're like confusing.
Well, They were equal. They were slightly more respectable fodder,
I guess comparatively, right?
But fodder all the same.
Because the grunts would like freak out and start screaming and yelling every time you went after them.
You might feel that way if you played less of Halo 2 Wolf, because when Halo 2 came out, the aliens could start speaking English, so you could understand what they were saying. And Halo 1, they were just yelling and screaming. And just Halo noises. 2,
they kind of that's kind of cheap. Suddenly they can speak English, or maybe they can't. We just understand it as the the perspective of the audience. I don't know if it's kind of tangential, but I don't know if you remember this, but that E3 when they announced Halo 2, there was that long trailer that first revealed everything, and it was like a 10-minute long gameplay demo, and that was back when E3 was like people would line up for those theaters, and it was just, and that's when they revealed those crazy monkeys as well, the brutes, and they were like jumping on vehicles and smashing people, and there were swords, and that was like the craziest thing. Like people would buy a magazine for Halo 2 coverage, and there was like one shred of new detail in there. It was such I know I was with you. And I still think Halo 2 is like, that's my favorite of all of them, but they're all amazing. I think other than like, I still think 4 is really good, and 5 I just thought was I
never played 5, but I've heard it was, where did it go wrong? Like what was so bad about it?
Well, you fought the same boss 7 or 8 times in the game. There was one boss, you fought him the whole way through, and then the end you fought the same boss, except there was duplicates of him. Not to mention that, but they like advertised the whole lock.
Yeah, the
lock.
Darker.
That was that one. Okay.
Yeah.
It was the lock. They spun it, and marketed it as like, there would be one commercial where Locke was holding the pistol to Chief's head, and then there'd be another ad where Chief was holding the pistol to Locke's head.
I would say that
totally wasn't like that.
No, I agree. For me, it went downhill in the first 30 seconds when there was like 8 Master Chiefs and they were sliding down an avalanche like surfboards and dropping one-liners, and I was like, okay, I'm done. This is just ridiculous.
They took Halo and tried to make it Call of Duty, and for the people who really liked Halo for what it was. I enjoyed Halo and Call of Duty when I was playing those games, but I liked them for different reasons. And when 343 decided to turn around and say, well, yeah, I just think they had a lack of imagination, in my opinion, and they just piggybacked the Black Ops thing with the armor abilities and the sprint function and the jetpacks and all that crap.
Yeah.
I know the game, a game has to evolve to a degree to stay relevant, but Halo just, that's why everybody sees Halo the way they see it now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to pull it back around for you a little bit, I'm sorry, I blame myself for that tangential stuff. If I'm going to be here, I got to ramble on. But when you were talking about like the topic of the show, I was thinking about how as I got older, like randomized games are more appealing to me now, but more specifically things that offer me a different experience. Like if we were to all pick up the same game and play it, but all have different experiences to compare to each other, like those are the things I'm looking for the most now. Like that's one of the reasons I got so into stuff like No Man's Skies, because there's like, it's all completely randomized, or to some degree something like Into the Breach, or even a game that's really like Mass Effect back in the day where you were just joking about that. There's so many different paths you could take, ways you could customize your character looked like you. Your story was very unique to yourself, and I want games to do that more. Like I'm less interested in like getting down with my friends and having us talk about the game and it's all the same shit.
I think I completely agree, number one, but I think whenever you say unique experiences, I think not even just like me having a unique experience from you when you play it. I completely agree that's what I look for as well, but it's more, I'm looking for a unique experience than what I've had in the past when it comes to the story and well-developed characters and just like a new atmosphere that I haven't seen. And I feel like the last couple of years we've gotten games that have just been almost just canned duplicates of games that we've seen in the past. And I'm thinking more like a lot of the FPS shooters and things like that, but just not a lot of creativity. And I would really like to see more. I think that's why I've been leaning more towards games like The Outer Wilds. Like there is no other game like that. And that's really like what I'm chasing, I think, now in 2019.
Yeah, I agree. Like even if it's flawed, even though I'm one of those few No Man's Sky zealots, like it's the flawed things don't bother me that much as long as they're really going for something different. I think there's value in the incredibly polished, Uncharted, Cuphead kind of stuff. I love those games too, but I just, there's those unique ideas and they can be a little rough around the edges, but I feel like we live in this rough culture where people just, if something's not perfect or there's something they don't like about it, they just rip it apart. And then something comes out that's safe. And it's just, I think that's unfortunate sometimes.
Right. I think we're kind of victim of that as well. The, being a little too harsh on anybody that's doing anything, I don't know if necessarily new, you would call this new, like that new Star Wars game coming out. I feel like I was incredibly critical of that like, what is it, that third person kind of like you're the Jedi, you're that actor kid from the one show, but
the one that's going to come out soon.
The one that's coming out here.
Fallen Order, right?
Right. And, it does look like it's like trying to do something different, but, I'm like nitpicking every little thing about that game. And it's so easy, like you said, to unfortunately fall into that habit. I feel like we're always just like the rose-colored glasses looking into the past, like when we talked about World of Warcraft and things like that, like encapsulating that magic that we had with all of these games that, we're not quite getting that same experience now. So it is about like you were saying, like the more random elements in video games.
Yeah.
And so I think recently we really liked, a few of us really like playing like Divinity 2 was a huge game for us.
Yeah.
That's definitely an experience every time you go in and play it. It's going to play out a little bit differently than the last time you jumped in there. And that's honestly, that's probably one of the biggest things for me right now is like you and Matt were saying, that it's got to feel different to me, regardless if I can sink any amount of time into that game, or I just won't come back to it.
Yeah, agreed. I was going to ask, who's the quieter gentleman in the blue shirt?
That's
Dave.
me, Dave.
Dave, how did you feel? I was going to ask, how did you feel about, you're a big Blizzard guy. How did you feel about the whole Diablo Immortal thing dropping on? Are you a big Diablo guy?
No, I definitely like Diablo, but that was a shit show at best.
We were there at the convention.
We were at BlizzCon when they dropped.
Oh, you guys were there? Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Oh.
And everybody was just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like that poor bastard on stage that had to like present that to everybody, and everybody's just like looking at him and laughing at him like, what the fuck are you doing? I actually felt bad for the guy because they just like let him out the slaughter, and like I'm sure it wasn't his call, but
It was crickets, man, for a few seconds there.
Right. But like, why would you ever at a convention that is for PC gamers announce a mobile game and expect people to be hyped? You're like, you're
front runner. It was their front runner on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're pandering to the wrong audience. Like just not a good, like whoever strategy that was, whoever came up with that really fucked up.
Yeah. Well, Diablo 3 is like another one of those games too, where my friend would like get in touch with me last time. He's like, dude, I found this crazy sword, and like I could grind for 100 hours. I might never see a sword with that exact spec, so there's like a level of uniqueness there because of the loot, right? But I just thought that was interesting to see because I wonder if that game actually turns out. Why not just make it on PC and mobile? And then because the mobile versions can get all hacked and fucked to shit. So that's the biggest problem with Diablo and console is that, to me, in my opinion. I enjoy playing it more because of the roll and the attacks and stuff, but it's hacked.
I played it on Xbox and it was really fun to play Diablo with the controller and like the roll and everything. But you get into a lobby and people would just like have all these hacked weapons and shit. And like they would like I picked up one and like you just turn into a god and you fucking annihilate everything.
Well,
and, like,
with loot, like if you have something centered around loot, when you like diminish the value of loot, then the whole purpose of the game is pretty much.
Yeah, right. I agree with that 100%. Because like what was the point of farming? Somebody would just make an item or dupe it or however they did it, and like you'd never farm something better. So what was the point of playing the game?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do think
there's
one of
no
the.
incentive.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
'Cause I was the big Diablo guy, I think, among us, and I
Oh,
still
okay.
play it every once in a while. And I mean, I've tried a lot of others, Torchlight, everything. Wolfson is another one coming up, Path of Exile, all that stuff. And Immortal was a big bummer, but I think we've already leaked that we're going to see, and these guys are going this year again. And they're really trying to talk me into going. I want to see it because 4 will come out, so we'll see what 4 does. Or what they have.
Did those other like Diablo likes? They didn't click with you as much, kind of a thing.
I actually ended up modding Torchlight to look like Diablo.
That's
how much I like Torchlight, and Wolfson is.
Or how much you want it to like Torchlight.
None of them. I mean, they all have. They're good. Some people like Grim Dawn. Everybody.
Yeah,
I like Diablo over Path of Exile, but I can't argue that Diablo is better game than Path of Exile. It just isn't, flat out. They took Blizzard's formula and made a better game. It's free. They've got tons of content coming out for it. But yeah, I'm not really sure I was going with this Diablo thing, but yeah.
No, I'm with you. Yeah. I tried them all too. It's like different drugs, but they don't give you quite the same high. But
I feel like that's how I am with Skyrim. I'm always looking for the next Skyrim, and I will get like a shittier RPG and think that it's going to be like that, and it's just not the same thing.
Yeah. Pokemon's kind of the same way. There's no other games that like simulate monster catching properly. They're just a bunch of knockoff.
Oh my god!
I played the new Pikachu one and just hated the. Like, I felt like, this is me thinking back to as a kid, but when you were a kid, and you were playing the originals and they had the battle system where you were actually training your Pokemon, you were battling with the Pokemon, even if it was just a wild. And then when they switched that so that you were gaining XP by just catching Pokemon, it was the most boring, monotonous, like just garbage thing ever. And like, I don't want to sit here and catch 35 Rattatas so that I can level up my Nidoran to go fight Brock. I just want to fight with my Nidoran and level up Nidoran. I don't want to catch Rattatas.
It's giving me anxiety just thinking about it, man. Yeah. I hate it. I caught like the bare minimum Pokemon that I needed when I played when I was a kid. Just thinking about having you held on to like all the ones you caught, right? Like it's the same in that regard.
Yeah.
You mean
like all 30 of those guys you caught? Like
you'd get rid. Like you would send
you would
them
eventually
to Oak, and he would give you stuff back. But that's how you gained XP,
right?
Just catching them. And the only good thing about that is that you could see what you were like they came up. You could see them, which made the world look more alive rather than you just walking around in grass, which was nice. But and you would get streaks. And the streaks would get you the shinies. You would get like a streak, and then you have an opportunity to start catching the shinies.
Watch many people do that on streams.
But it's still like I don't want to train my Pokemon like that. And I felt distant from like my lineup. Like the only time I could use my lineup is when I was battling. So if I was ever going to play the game, went through, beat all the trainers in the game, I would have to start a new game. I could never battle my Pokemon again. That's what it would lead to. And I thought that was straight trash.
They always like test the water with those weird offshoot games. So I mean, like at least they took some of the cool stuff like the Pokemon Wandering the World, and they're going to put that in Sword and Shield. So that had some problems. I didn't like it, and the art style was just fucking. The Pokemon looked just plasticky. I'm not a fan of that either.
I think just before we close out this main topic, I really wanted to just ask if there were any games that were coming out like in the horizon, or any game studios that you guys follow really closely that are working on anything in particular that you're excited for in the future.
Remnant from the Ashes looks really good. It has the like gritty lore that people like from the Soul series. And one thing that it does that I think a lot of games aren't doing now is really incentivizing cooperative play, like big time cooperative play. Like they want you to go, because if all 5 of us were to start a game on there and go through, each and every one of us would experience the game differently. And then we could share our experience with each other. Like if we could go through the first area of the game. We started up, play through the first area. I'm going to fight a different boss than all 4 of you guys. And then and sometimes, since like Morgan was saying, he likes the randomization. If you really like the randomization aspect in games, then this might be something for you to look into, is that all the bosses are randomized. So you could play through that game hundreds of hours and never see that boss that I saw ever.
Wow.
What is it? What is it called? Remnant? I've never even heard of it.
Remnant from the Ashes. And it's like I'm kind of so on the steampunk thing, but it's, there's melee weapons, there's guns, and it's a third person kind of shooter looter. Looks really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Remnant. Okay, that sounds cool. Yeah, I'm with you on the steampunk thing. Steampunk porn maybe, but that's about as far as I go.
I think we can all agree on that, right?
Takes a long time to take off all those little doohickeys.
I think for me, I was really looking forward to Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, it's kind of like a no-brainer for me. It's my favorite studio right now. I really like Larian Studios. And then doing one of my favorite franchises. I think that was between that, Baldur's Gate and Pokemon. Actually, it's kind of a weird mix now that I say it out loud. Those were like 2 of my earliest like gaming experiences, and it's really exciting to me that they're kind of going to revitalize that franchise. I think they're going to do a really great job of it. I can't wait to see how they, bring it back to life for me.
Might be waiting a while on that Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one.
Well, for me, you probably know where I'm going, but
I can probably guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because we've talked about it before, and I'm sure most people know by now, but Activision Blizzard, they did like a restructuring, and they're reallocating more development resources to their core titles like WoW, Hearthstone, Overwatch, yada yada yada. So I'm kind of excited to see what increased development resources will bring for them. Like, will they be able to improve the games and add more content and like bring people back, or is it going to just flop? So I'm excited to see with the increased development resources what they can do to kind of reinvent their games and their company.
Classic WoW, yeah.
Does anybody here have a VR headset?
I'm working on getting one this fall, maybe in the winter, but none of us do. No.
Okay, I was just curious. Yeah, I did to dust mine off yesterday, first time this year. So I was just curious. A lot of people. I'm just curious if anybody here had a set. So
Well, you have the No Man's Sky coming out. Isn't it like super soon that comes out?
it's tonight. Yeah,
It's tonight.
It's supposed to be. It's weird because with the physical releases of big games, you know exactly when stuff's dropping. But with this stuff, they just said the 14th. So it could be midnight. It could be 6 a.m. It could be 3 tomorrow. Like nobody. I'm like lurking the Reddit page and nobody fucking knows when it's dropping. So,
what do you like so much about that game right now? I mean, it had such a bad release and such negative press when it came out. But I feel like a lot of people are saying now that they really love what they've done with the game and how they fixed it up to this point.
I think, man, this is tough. I'll keep this succinct because this is one of those few things where, like, there's certain games, like if I love Breath of the Wild, but if someone were to talk shit on Breath of the Wild, I would not care. But like when it first started, when people were bagging on No Man's Sky, I felt like I was getting like an emotional reaction to it. And I was like, okay, this is not logical. Like, why are you getting upset about this? And it's just one of those games that means a lot to me. That's why. And I realize that now, which is why, and that was years ago. So it's different now because that game is reviewed very positively now. But I think some of that is psychological, to be honest with you. Like, the game is not that much different. There's a lot more to do, and it's a better game. But the idea that this game was going to release without features that were originally touted and people were upset about, you can't really erase that until you just start adding a lot of features in. So there's a psychological thing there. I never really got hooked into the whole, this game needs to be, it's not what I paid for. They lied to me, any of that stuff. I was just like, I didn't really know that much about it because I was keeping it on the dark scale. I was like, this looks amazing. I just don't want to know anything about it. I bought it, fell in love with it for what it was. And then I found out everyone was just freaking out about this whole No Man's Lie thing. And then it became a massive meme and all this stuff. But like, once
the internet picks something up, I mean, it's done.
Yeah.
Especially in the gaming industry. I mean, if they do something wrong and people don't like it, I mean, which is what we like still deal with like not a game, but like the Epic Game Store, just like the negative press that it gets.
Mhm.
Once you get that spin, I mean, you're just dead in the water.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. There's just something about how the scale of what they're replicating in that game. There's just nothing like it. It doesn't mean it's for everyone, obviously, but I've been playing games since I was 8 years old, and this is the one that probably captures my imagination the most of like any game I've ever played in my entire life. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but there's like something about my brain connecting to this game in a way that's like just crazy. And I'm really happy that people enjoy it now. But you know, there was like 4 years there. It was rough to even mention I was a No Man's Sky fan because it was pretty much,
Right.
you know. I think the biggest thing is when people try it, like, because I don't like push people to try it now. I just post stuff I like about it and just kind of go on with my life, you know, whatever. It's dead in the water. But if people, when they try it, they generally message me and they're like, "Hey, I actually thought this game was pretty cool. I got it for like $20," and they're surprised. And maybe that's because expectations are changed, or they got it for cheaper, or it's just a different time. But I just think that game is a cool idea. 18 quintillion planets randomly generated, you know, going on this journey, and it's just a very unique thing.
Yeah, would you say that the main appeal for you is just the opportunity and the line of thinking that even though you visited a ton of planets and seen a lot of creatures, that the next one you go to may be completely different and unique than what you've seen?
And sometimes it is not. Sometimes you go to a planet, it's a little disappointing or it's empty. And that's sort of like the way the casino crack goes. Actually, there's a lot of little things like the music I love. Like I interviewed the audio director, Paul Ware, who worked, and I got to talk to him about the whole controversy and how he handles music. And because music in that game is also semi-randomly generated to fit what you're going through. So they might have a bunch of kind of files. Let's say when you land on a planet, there might be a ton of music that it could cycle with. So basically they want to sort of tune your musical experience too. A lot of stuff like that. The aesthetic and all that kind of stuff just connected with me. But yes, the answer is yes. There's an element. I'd be lying if I said there's an element of not like kind of heroin in there, like space science fiction heroin, because you never know what the next planet's going to bring. And on a side note, not to suck my own dick here, I had I created this space that was sort of inspired by Deep Blue Sea. Have you guys ever seen Deep Blue Sea with LL Cool J?
Oh yeah, many times.
I created this underwater like space station because I want to be able to like look at all these weird alien sharks and stuff from my space station. So I built the base on top of the water and left it open in the middle. And I just threw up like the first clip I made on Reddit like a year ago, and it blew up. It got like 30,000 views in like one day. Shit. Yeah, it was like it was the only viral thing I've ever done. I'm like, all right, I did it. I did something stupid and viral. But like that's the kind of game it is, like you can build bases and do all that kind of crap too. So the possibility of doing this in VR is actually a little too exciting. And probably not good for my heart. So we'll see.
I'm excited for you, man. I hope that it's everything you want it to be.
I hope so too. I really do. If anyone's listening out there, or you guys in particular, like if you ever like a game that you just like too much, or something you like too much, then you'll know where I'm coming from. Like I just having a hard time dealing with it right now. Like if I'm supposed to go on a date with my wife after this. I was joking with you before the podcast.
Yeah.
And if that had launched tonight, I guarantee you I would not be going on that date. So,
We'll edit that part out. That won't go public.
Yeah, I know. And when I had the VR headset on, she slit my throat. So, yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so that's my big spiel about that game. I would say anyone out there's listening that thought it looked interesting, but the controversy scared them away. It's cheap enough. Just give it a shot, maybe,
It's something that I've been thinking about. And I think that it's because I've liked the Outer Wilds so much. And the games aren't that similar, but they have similar themes.
They're more similar than you think they are. Like the feeling of kind of getting on a ship and going from planet to planet. The Outer Wilds is sort of like a narrative, single player, condensed version of some of those similar emotions. So
okay. So let's jump down to trending here. First news story of the day is the Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. They're now going to require that all games sold on their platforms have to disclose the odds of getting items of a certain rarity level in loot boxes. This would apply to all new games and games that introduce paid loot box features after the implementation of this policy. Many other companies have also pledged to implement the same policy sometime next year, which is a lot of the big players. This includes Bethesda, Activision Blizzard, Bungie, EA, Ubisoft, and Epic Games. And I also just think it's important to note that Apple has been doing this on the iOS since 2017. So we've discussed just on this show, I think loot boxes in a great length. And we've also seen loot boxes recently being challenged by governments, especially in the EU, as being a form of gambling. It looks like these policies, at least to me, are going to be the new standard moving forward. I guess I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on what you thought about having these rarity odds publicly shown in games, and if you think that it's enough to, if it's enough of a change to make loot boxes okay or better for the consumer.
This just sounds ridiculous to me, honestly, just because I don't know if they're trying to make it more or less like gambling, but to me, this sounds exactly like gambling now. Don't they disclose the odds at the casino of, like, you know, what your chances are of winning any game you go in and play?
I don't know, David, is that right?
They don't. The casino doesn't necessarily disclose like specifically
Well, I
the
guess we
odds, but
know the
they'll
odds.
disclose. They disclose the rolls, at least for blackjack. You know, like how many decks they have. You know, like the payout on blackjack. You know, if you can double or split certain cards. You know how much of the deck they deal out, and then based on that, you can calculate what your odds are. But they're not specifically saying like you have this percentage chance. You know what I mean?
So maybe it's better. Maybe I stand corrected. Maybe this is better than gambling. It sounds. I
think on a slot machine they might have something online. I don't know, Adam.
Yeah, well, slot machines, like every casino, they can adjust like the payout rates on them. So like a slot machine will pay out 92% of the money that's put into it, or like another casino will be 94%, and that's basically how slot machines work.
Right.
So like a lot of in like jackpots, like a lot of people get shit on. You know, like everybody gets shit on, and then one guy gets lucky and basically wins the jackpot and takes all their money.
Yeah.
Essentially, what's happening.
You don't get that lucky though with buying loot boxes. I don't think.
I don't think so either.
No, doesn't seem like it.
I think at face value, it's a step in the right direction. I mean, at least they're telling you now, rather, you know, like, hey, I want that gold skin, you know, because they're always tiered with colors, right?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so you'll, at least you know what, you know, the odds. Okay, so if I have a 10% chance I buy 10 loot boxes, I could get it or not. But
I guess here's my fear. I think it's a step in the right direction, but I'm afraid that now that they've made this change, that the conversation's going to go away. And everybody's going to be like, oh, okay, well, they give us the odds now. Like, it's no big deal. Like, I know if I can get a rare item, you know, 1 out of every 50, I'll gladly pay for them. And I just think that that's not a good thing for us. I don't think it's a good thing for really anybody that's playing games, especially like a younger kid that's playing Fortnite that might be 10 or 12 years old. That's, you know, just buying whatever he wants. Just because he knows the odds doesn't mean that he's not going to spend a lot of money. So that's my fear, is that although it is a positive change, it might be the only change for a while.
It's tricky though, because disclosing the information, I get what you're saying. It actually could increase to some degree, because you're like, oh, it's only 1 in 50. Yeah, it's a lot better than I thought it was.
That's true.
Let's go steal mommy's credit card. I mean, you could see that, but I think disclosing the information is always a plus. I don't think you ever want to live in a world where the information is hidden. I mean, you're right, but I feel like there's no way around your scenario. That is an impossible thing, other than just completely evaporating it, and that's not going to happen. I'm pretty liberal when it comes to loot boxes, just because if a game has a lot of loot box shit in it, I just don't play it. You know what I mean? Right. I just fine. If you want to make your money in this country or this world, whatever, do your thing. But like, if it's a game that has gross microtransactions, I just stop playing it. It's just a personal thing that I have. So, and a lot of my favorite games don't have it. And you don't need it. So yes, I get why people hate it. But like, I feel like as a consumer, at least on my end, it's not a problem. And if my kid gets to the age where she's gonna try and, you know, milk me for points or whatever, then I'll have to address that as a parent when that time comes. But yeah, I think to answer your question, it's good to disclose the information, I think, at the end of the day. That's
funny you said that. I feel like, you know, Morgan, you're probably well equipped to deal with that conversation with your kids, but I feel like, you know, at least in my workplace, I hear a lot of people talking about, you know, their kids playing Fortnite and things like that. I don't think they really understand, you know, I don't know, maybe not that there's like terrible consequences of buying loot boxes or anything like that, but exactly what they're paying for, paying into, or acquiring, with the money they're putting into this game.
Yeah. It's a controversial stance, but I just believe as a parent, it's your job to watch that shit. And then if you see it on your credit card, you talk to your kid, you take care of it. Like, if you save your information, I get how you can get fucked over a couple times, but I just believe that it's just my personal stance as a parent that's my responsibility. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. And I think we've talked about that on prior podcasts too. Just saying, like, there has to be some kind of personal responsibility involved. Like, you don't have to do it, and like you don't have to act like it's like you're a crackhead buying loot boxes. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of different other, there's plenty of other games that you can play if you don't want to have microtransactions. And like, as a parent or an adult or a kid, whatever, like, there's ways to regulate it. Like, take care of your kid, know what they're doing, be a part of their life. If you don't like it, don't buy it. And if you do like it, buy it.
To roll back onto what Matt was saying, like, he hopes that the conversation doesn't go away. I'm with him there. And my thing with loot boxes is, like, I think a game can have microtransactions. Like, a game like Siege would have never become as popular and have gotten as much content as it has without it.
Mm-hmm.
But loot boxes, I think, are different. It's not when I go into Siege and I say, wow, that Ash skin is really sick, I want to buy that. I know what I'm buying. It's my choice to spend the money on that stupid item.
Yeah.
It's a loot box is totally different. You don't know. You're getting your odds here, but there's no guarantee here.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the one thing that I've said that I wish they would change in loot boxes is that, like, I don't mind the rarity being different and, like, just sometimes getting a bunch of commons and, like, never getting that legendary for a while. I really don't even mind that. I think it's more that if I get a legendary, it could be for a champion or a section of the game that I don't even like. So I'm getting like 50 of them. I finally get the rarest item, and it's like the one that is my least favorite. I wish that they could just give you a legendary option and then say, okay, you've received a legendary, Matt. Congratulations. Now pick which one that you want. And I don't think we've seen anything like that.
That's a good point. That really cuts into their bottom line, though, right?
That's true. But it would seem better from me as a consumer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I would be more open to them if they did that.
Right. It would be a nice transition to see them move into like I'm sorry, I'm still getting used to your names. The gentleman above me with the hat,
Josh.
It would be nice to see them transition, like you were saying, where you go in and know, I buy this. You made some extra cool stuff for me. I'd like to support you. Here you go. As opposed to the loot box. I kind of think Overwatch they were not the first, but they really popularized the harmless loot box, and then it just spiraled out of control from there because, loot boxes in Overwatch were harmless. It was cosmetics. It was, if you wanted to give them extra money, which that was crazy because the game was already $60, but if you wanted to do that, right, go for it. And then you earn them as a reward for playing the game, which is cool. So it's like a little crack for playing the game, but from there it just exploded. It seemed like so.
There are games that do it well. I think a good example of a game that does microtransactions horribly is Killing Floor. Killing Floor 2, especially, way overpriced, for a lot of stuff that you're getting. Like, say you want a gold gun. Mm-hmm. You're paying like $18 to $20 to have just the gun just be painted gold. No sort of touch string, nothing added. You're paying for a color change. And those kind of microtransactions, like, I'm saying, if you choose to buy that, fine. But there's a balance that needs to be found there with the money thing. Like, you can argue many different avenues on this microtransactions debate, topic. But I'd much sooner see just loot boxes gone and the microtransactions that a game needs to stay relevant and to stay alive, like Rainbow Six Siege or games like The Witcher that put out amazing content and DLC and expansions cost $40. Yeah, that stuff could be very well worth the $40. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's more forgivable in free games, I think, too. Like, even though they're not really my thing, I'm a little more understanding when it's a free game because I'm like, this is how you're making a lot of your profit. Like Path of Exile, that game you're talking, it's called Path of Exile, right?
Yep.
I played that for a while too, but I remember the developers came out and they said like 8% of their audience or 4% of their audience makes up 98% of their revenue because it was a free game, but you could buy stuff for in-game stuff. So there's always that diehard base there, but I get it more when it's a free game.
Which is crazy to think about, that diehard base.
I know, Jesus
and like
Christ.
Who's spending that much money? I know, and like every game has those people. It's absolutely insane.
I don't get it because like No Man's Sky is like one of my favorite games. I just ranted about it. If there was things to buy in that game, I wouldn't buy them. I just wouldn't do it. Like I'm not built, and I have a super addictive personality. Like I love that shit. So I don't know, man. Maybe if Diablo had it, maybe if Diablo 4 has it and they're like, oh, random loot boxes, I'm like, oh no. No, maybe.
That would be the end. Yeah.
I know, let's not talk about it.
They wouldn't. Blizzard has too much integrity. Most of the companies that make the mistake with the microtransactions, if you look at their track record, they're companies that have some issues anyway. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, you're right.
No doubt. One thing that is...
go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
Matt,
good.
But, one thing's, for certain, just with this decision to, just put your odds, it's no surprise to me, but it doesn't seem like loot boxes are going away anytime soon. I think they're just going to keep fighting for them, all these companies will.
No, I actually just read a huge article about how not just loot boxes, but just transactions in general, where like they're so important to the financial lifeblood of these game companies nowadays that they actually like couldn't go away. Or they wouldn't even know what to do with organizations, and they wouldn't know how to get cash for it.
That's fucking insane to me. Like,
I know.
That's crazy. Like, how can you not make something I saw recently sold like 10 million copies, and they said it was a disappointment. I was like, I know. Fucking kidding. Yeah. It's like, make a game that doesn't need to sell 70 million copies. Like, I just don't get it. Like, when I look at things like Death Stranding coming out soon, right, with Kojima and the way he's always handled Metal Gear before they kicked him out of there, like those games could sell a couple million copies. They had some of the best production values in the business, and they were fine. Like I feel like the business model should be able to support that if you do it right. It's head scratching to me. Granted, I'm not in there, but
like Sekiro sold, I think, like 4 million. So
and it's plenty.
And I'm sure that that's fine. Like I'm sure that From Software is like, okay, like that was good.
Yeah.
We'll see DLC from them. They always do. They'll ask for more money, but they'll give it to us some good content. You know what I mean? That's what I was saying. That's where we got to find the balance. It has to be worth. It has to be worth it. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like what you said. What was the game you said? The Black Ops 4? Is that the one you said it was?
Yeah, Activision was disappointed with the sales numbers after it came out, even though it was like staggering.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, the game it's fine. A lot of people liked it, right? Like, where's all that money going? I don't look at that game and go, "This is the best looking game I've ever seen." I don't look at it and say it's like got the best story or whatever, the most revolutionary. Like, where the fuck is all that money going?
I think the issue is not that they're not making money. They're probably still making like $100 million of revenue in the game, but they just want to make 400 million. I think it's more that their expectations have increased more than the actual profit margin.
Right. And it's not even their expectations. It's investors and stockholders and shareholders. That's the problem. It's because, you know what I mean? The stock market's based on like, make more. It's never enough. It's never, you know what I mean? It's never enough. If you want to drive the stock price, you got to make more money. You got to make more money. You got to make more money. It's never good enough. And I think that's really the problem because Blizzard, if you look at their earnings, they still make a fucking shitload of money. They make tons of money. Billions of dollars a year, but it's not good enough. There always needs to be more. They're like, oh, the company's struggling. They're making billions of dollars a year. It sounds like they're doing okay to me.
Yeah, it's annoying. I'm with you. It's just whatever.
And Morgan, I really want to respect your time here. We have one more news story, but I know that you have something that you wanted to get to. I just want to make sure that you have time just before we jump into it.
Oh, you want me to pimp my stuff? Is that what you're
saying? No, I want to make sure that you just have time for the last news story. I know that you had something that if you were going to go on a date with your wife or whatever, I didn't want to hold you up.
It's fine. I can. What are you looking at? Like 5-10? What do you think?
That's what I would think. Yeah.
Okay. I gotta. Let's see. I'll stick around for like 7-8 more minutes or so.
Okay. Let's just make this one quick then.
You're fine. There's no rush. Like I said, if I gotta go, it's date night. What can I do? Technical difficulties are my fault. So.
So this last news story here, Walmart has been taking down all traces of aggressive and violent demos and displays of all forms of entertainment. That includes video games, obviously. This move was in response to the recent mass shootings that had happened near some of their stores, and it's been getting a lot of traction because the retailer still sells guns. And I've seen this story plastered everywhere on the internet. I cannot get away from it. What are your thoughts here? And I don't think we have to dive into like the mass shootings or anything that's like super political, but I think that I feel like personally, I'd rather almost have them do nothing, because I feel like this doesn't. It literally doesn't do anything.
It caters to
that. Was my problem.
I think as gamers, I think you could talk to every person who plays games is going to sit there and tell you no. You know, there are studies done that don't support this claim. Like every time they do it, there's no relation at all to violence and violent acts in real life. And I think, and you could ask any gamer out there and they go, no, never really thought about going outside and committing any sort of crime based on what I was doing in a video game. I think anybody can agree on that. That's, you know, especially among people like us, like the
that's
hardcore gamers.
True. You know,
period.
Sorry to cut you off there, Josh. The more I think about this, the more I really don't. I don't care one way or the other whether they remove it or not, but showing more, I guess, responsible ways to use firearms and things like that, that's, you know, totally a plus in my book. I don't think it's going to affect me or anybody else one way or the other, whether they have violent displays up in the stores or anything else. And there's nothing inherently violent about looking at a gun, you know, that's for sale at a store or anything like that. So do I think it's stupid? Do I think it's going to, you know, save any lives or anything like that? Probably not. But I can understand where they're coming from, and I semi-support what they're doing.
You made a point in a previous podcast, Wolf, that's like, look at John Wick. Everybody eats that shit up.
Yeah, you're right.
Nobody looks at a movie like John Wick and goes, well, I really want to go stab some guy in the eye with a pencil.
I'm not.
Wick. You know, nobody.
I agree with you 100% there.
It was just like violent advertising that they removed, right? Mm-hmm. Or anything gun related. And I think, it's just kind of a PR move. I don't, I mean, I don't believe that they actually believe it's going to really help, but I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. You just get rid of some posters here and there and stuff. I don't think that really matters much, but yeah, we have to discuss this next week on the Chompcast. So I am not, it's such a delicate subject. You know what I mean? But in response to the Walmart thing, I feel like when you're that big, you have to do something as like a PR move, but there's nothing you can really do. You can't really stop selling guns. You can't stop selling video games to some degree, but you want to do something. I feel like when these horrible things happen on any level, like we just want to do something to change it, even if it's small, right? And I think that's their PR way of getting out there and saying, hey, it helps in some small way. We're, as a show of what's going on, we're going to remove violent advertisements.
And I think you're kind of damned if you do anything, if you're a giant corporation like that in response, because people are going to find ways to bitch about whatever you do PR wise.
Yeah, you're always going to make, you're never going to make everybody happy. You're always going to piss off a faction of people no matter what you do. And then my overall point is, and not to get like super political or anything, it's just everybody tries to, you know, they try to blame like either, you know, gun laws or video games or violent movies, blah, 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 blah. But I think a lot of people miss the mark. Like there's other problems in our society that I think may be contributing to violence. Like for me, one thing, like prescription drugs and everything, like think about that shit. You watch a fucking commercial and it's like, this will fix your fucking whatever, but you might have suicidal thoughts and fucking blow off your head, like literally in the commercial. And like maybe like people on all this shit, maybe that's part of the problem, you know? Or maybe like people like being divorced and not having a normal family life and like not having a dad or not having a mom or whatever. Maybe that contributes to it. You know, I think there's other things that people don't want to like talk about that may be a contributing factor to like what we're seeing.
I tweeted about this exact thing, Dave, and they, you know, I think I can't quote myself here, but I think it's just the way, these politicians on, it seems like Fox News seems to be the big one that's really, against this violent games thing where you see most of these clips coming from. But I think it's just exactly what you said. It's a way to distract people from real issues that need addressed.
Mm-hmm. I also think that, and I've been kind of formulating this take as well, and then I'll shut up, I promise. But I feel like, sorry, I ramble a lot, so I apologize for your podcast. I feel like the thing I've been formulating a lot, because I've been thinking about this for weeks, I haven't been able to tweet about it or say anything about it because it's just a complex issue. And I think for me, it's that a lot of these incidents, they're a perfect storm of circumstances in these people's lives. It's from their political views to maybe their psychological health to a mixture of maybe their, like a lot of serial killers could have failed with the opposite sex, whether they're into male or females, it doesn't matter. It's proven that in a lot of cases, they just could not get along with the opposite sex or attention. Like there's so many factors that create these things, and usually it's a perfect storm, because even though there's been more, like we're in the US and there's been more mass shootings in the US than days so far, which is crazy. They're still technically rare outlier kind of events, because there's sort of a confluence of a lot of things happening at once in this individual that makes them want to go out and take human lives. And I think that's why it's so difficult to narrow this down and fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that was really well said. I think you have to be in a really, really dark place to do something like that. And I think, like you said very well, that it's not just one thing. You can't just point to video games. It's like 10 different things in somebody's life that brings them to that point over years and years. But let's wrap the show there. I think that's a great stopping point. Morgan, again, thank you very much for coming on. That was a lot of fun. It was really nice just getting a chance to sit down and talk to you. Anybody listening, if you haven't checked out Morgan or the SwordChomp guys, they're a great group. They put on a good show every week. Like Morgan said, they never miss. We will put all of the links to Morgan's Twitter and Instagram and all of SwordChomp stuff below this video if you're interested. But thank you guys again, and hopefully we'll see you next week.